Walking off that stage felt like crossing the finish line at a race you didn't know you were running, except the prize was eternal humiliation. I stumbled backstage, still gripping the mic like it was a cursed artifact, and collapsed onto a folding chair. Every 5 seconds someone would burst into fresh laughter behind the curtains. Someone yelled, "Sound effects king," and someone else started mimicking the fart sound into a paper towel tube. I just sat there, staring into the void, questioning every decision that led to this exact moment. The talent show dragged on but nobody cared anymore. The break dancers killed it, the magician made a solid effort, but nothing could top the dude who weaponized his ass on a school stage. When it was over, people filed out of the auditorium buzzing. Groups of students whispering, pointing, laughing, and every single time someone laughed, I knew exactly why. My 15 minutes of fame had begun and it smelled suspiciously like cafeteria beans. The next morning, walking into school was like entering a gladiator arena. People pointed, people clapped, somebody had already made a meme and printed it out, taping it to the lockers. It was a picture of me mid-crouch on stage, mouth half open, with the words, "When you drop the hottest track of the year." There was no escaping it. During first period, my math teacher played it cool, but when he turned around to the whiteboard, I could see him shaking with suppressed laughter. Second period, the intercom glitched for a second and made a weird static noise. The class immediately started laughing and someone shouted, "He's back." Even teachers who didn't teach me would nod in the hallway and say, "Heard you made history yesterday." The janitor gave me a fist bump. Principal Johnson made a passive-aggressive announcement about remembering that microphones are sensitive equipment and should be respected. I tried to lay low. I tried to fade into the background like some kind of shameful ghost. But no, my legacy was cemented. Lunch period was the worst. Someone had edited the footage. They took a video of me on stage and inserted stock footage of a mushroom cloud right after the fart noise. The video went viral in school group chats within hours. By the end of the week, there were rumors that the school was renaming the auditorium in my honor. Somebody drew a plaque with my face on it and taped it to the front door. The gas chamber, est. This week. And you know what? I embraced it. If life hands you lemons, you squeeze them into people's eyes and fart into the mic again. I started signing people's yearbooks with "Stay gassy" and a little fart cloud doodle. I leaned in. I owned it. Senior year, when we voted for superlatives, guess who won, most likely to blow you away? Yeah, this guy. If you think you've had an embarrassing moment, let me introduce you to the day I became a living meme in my entire school. One fart, one microphone, eternal shame. It was supposed to be the proudest moment of my awkward little life. Our school had this annual talent show and somehow, against all common sense, I signed up to do stand-up comedy. Yeah, me, the kid who once tripped over a flat floor during gym class. The plan was simple. Tell a few jokes about school lunches, roast a few teachers lightly, maybe get a few pity laughs, survive, go home, feel like a legend. The day of the show, my nerves were cooked. I couldn't even eat breakfast because my stomach was tighter than my wallet after buying DLCs. I spent all morning rehearsing in front of my bathroom mirror, talking to myself like a maniac, trying to channel my inner Kevin Hart. Backstage was chaos. Kids in tutus practicing cartwheels. Someone's science project involving a homemade volcano leaking suspicious goo onto the floor. A dude in a banana costume pacing back and forth mumbling something about going viral. I was fifth on the list. Right after a 9-year-old girl with a violin and before a breakdancing duo that looked like they ate protein powder straight from the tub. My moment arrived. I walked onto the stage, heart hammering so hard I thought the front row could see it through my chest. The stage lights blinded me, the crowd looked like a sea of shifting blobs. I grabbed the mic off the stand. Big mistake. The second I bent slightly to pull the mic down to my level, disaster struck. Something deep within my guts betrayed me. The fart wasn't just audible. It was amplified. It was broadcasted. It echoed through the auditorium like the opening blast of an AC/DC concert. You could feel it vibrating in your sternum if you sat close enough to the stage. The mic picked it up perfectly. The speakers threw it back at the audience with Dolby surround level clarity. A beat of pure silence. Then chaos. The front rows clutched their stomachs, laughing uncontrollably. Someone screamed. Teachers tried to stay composed but failed. their faces twitching like they were being electrocuted by humor. Principal Johnson dropped his clipboard and had to cover his mouth to stop himself from howling. I stood there, mic in hand, frozen. Every fiber of my being wanted to vaporize. One kid yelled, "Yo, that's his talent." The rest of the room absolutely exploded. Laughter bounced off the walls. I hadn't even said one word into the mic yet and somehow I had already killed harder than any stand-up comedian in history. There was no recovering. I could either run off the stage crying or embrace it like a true idiot hero. Guess which option I picked? I cleared my throat, raised the mic like a battle sword, and said into it, "Guess I really blew you away." The eruption of laughter that followed shook the goddamn ceiling. Somewhere in the audience, a teacher dropped her coffee. The janitor in the back gave me a slow clap. I became legend. Standing there, bathed in stage lights and the sound of 300 teenagers howling at my accidental ass trumpet, I realized something. This was either the most humiliating day of my life or the start of my villain origin story. Walking back into the restaurant felt like entering a war zone where everyone knew exactly who ruined their evening. Eyes followed me like I was the plague in skinny jeans. The kid from earlier pointed at me and yelled, "That's the guy who made the lady noises." "Thank you, tiny snitch. Really appreciate it." I got back to the table, trying to act casual even though my ears were probably glowing in the dark from embarrassment. My girlfriend was just sitting there, sipping her wine like a queen watching a peasant struggle for dignity. I slid into my chair, tried to smile. She raised one eyebrow, the universal look for, "Explain yourself, you absolute moron." "Technical difficulties," I muttered, hoping humor would save me. "No shit," she said, taking another sip. For a second, I thought she might laugh. Maybe we could move on. Maybe we could pretend the soundtrack to Satan's Love Dungeon hadn't just blasted through the restaurant. No such luck. The manager showed up at our table, looking like he'd just personally witnessed the death of civilization. "Sir, is there an issue we should be aware of?" he asked, real careful like he was dealing with a bomb. I wanted to crawl under the table and live there forever. "I'm so sorry," I said. "It was a misunderstanding." "It's not what it sounded like." It was exactly what it sounded like. He gave me a look that said, "You're banned from humanity," handed me a coupon for a free dessert, for the inconvenience, and backed away slowly like I was going to whip out a second speaker from my pants. My girlfriend was just sipping her wine, watching me burn. I figured I had two options: cry and run away. Double down and go full idiot. Of course I chose option 2. I pulled the tiny ring box out of my pocket, slammed it on the table like a drunk gambler, and blurted out, "Will you be my girlfriend?" Not, "Will you marry me?" Not even, "Will you continue to date me despite me being a living fart sound?" No, "Will you be my girlfriend?" Like a 14-year-old at a middle school dance. She blinked at me, then burst out laughing. Not cute, giggly laughing. Full body, head thrown back, gasping for air laughing. Other tables turned to look. Some people even smiled. The manager facepalmed in the corner. She wiped tears from her eyes and said, "Babe, we've been dating for 2 years." I blinked, still on one knee by the table, looking like I had just rebooted mid-sentence. "Right, I know. I just wanted to make it official." I mumbled. She leaned over, kissed my forehead like I was a slow child who tried his best, and said, "You're an idiot." "But you're my idiot." The restaurant actually applauded. Like full-on, ironic clapping. Some dude even whistled. We stayed for dessert because, damn it, we earned that free tiramisu through pure suffering. Afterward, in the car, she leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "Next time you try to make a romantic playlist, maybe check your tabs first." I just nodded, silently vowing that if I ever touched a Bluetooth speaker again, it would only be to throw it into a volcano. You know that feeling when you're about to do something unforgettable and your brain suddenly turns into wet cardboard? That was me, standing in the middle of Bella Vita, a fancy Italian restaurant, clutching a tiny black ring box and sweating like a sinner in church. The plan was foolproof in my head. Nice dinner, wine, maybe some spaghetti action like that scene in Lady and the Tramp, soft background music, heartfelt confession of love over tiramisu. I even had a Bluetooth speaker stashed in my jacket pocket because I had made a special playlist for the occasion. Real smooth operator shit. She looked amazing that night. Hair curled, lips shining, that little laugh that made me feel like I was the main character in some sappy Netflix rom-com. I was so hyped, I couldn't even taste the overpriced breadsticks I was nervously demolishing. When the waiter left us alone after dropping off the lasagna, I knew it was showtime. I pulled out the speaker under the table like it was some kind of illegal contraband. Fiddled with my phone, heart hammering in my chest, palms sweaty enough to baptize a small village. The playlist was supposed to start with Can't Help Falling in Love, the Elvis classic, soft and cheesy just how she liked it. I hit connect on Bluetooth. The speaker made a little beep. Success. I clicked on the playlist. Silence for a beat. Then, at full, ungodly volume, the speaker blasted not Elvis, not sweet romantic ballads, but the unmistakable, aggressive, no-holds-barred moaning soundtrack of hardcore porn. I froze. She froze. Half the restaurant froze. It wasn't just moaning. No. It was graphic. It was theatrical. It sounded like somebody was getting murdered by love. The old couple 2 tables over dropped their forks simultaneously. A little kid at the next table yelled, "Mommy, what's that lady screaming about?" The waiter, poor bastard, tripped and flung a tray of wine glasses into a potted plant. I fumbled my phone like a drunk trying to unlock a nightclub bathroom door. Pressed every button possible. Volume up, volume down, play, pause. Nothing worked. The moaning grew louder, if that was even possible, like the speaker itself was possessed by horny demons. I panicked and tried to smother the speaker with my jacket. Bad move. The sound became muffled but somehow even nastier, like it was happening under a blanket 2 feet away from everyone's ravioli. My girlfriend was staring at me, mouth open, face blank, processing whether she should slap me, laugh, or call the cops. A dude at the bar actually started slow clapping, because apparently public humiliation is a spectator sport now. Desperate, I grabbed the speaker and sprinted towards the bathroom, knocking over a chair and almost body slamming a random guy on the way. The speaker, now half covered in jacket, kept wailing as if mocking me. In the bathroom, I shoved the speaker under a sink and finally managed to disconnect it from my phone, leaving it whimpering into silence. I leaned over the sink, panting, staring at my reflection like some war survivor who'd just seen unspeakable things. My face was redder than the marinara sauce dripping off my jacket. I knew I couldn't hide in the bathroom forever. The crime scene was still waiting for me. The girl I loved was still out there, sitting at our table, probably questioning every life choice that led her to this cursed date. I wiped my sweaty hands on my jeans, took a deep breath, and stumbled back out into the restaurant, ready to face whatever fresh humiliation the universe had lined up for me next. I stormed down the hallway like I was in the final lap of a Mario Kart race, doors blurring past me, desperately hoping to find a bathroom. First door, coat closet. Second door, some weird office full of creepy porcelain dolls. Third door, jackpot. I locked myself in and just stood there breathing like I'd run a marathon, my heart pounding so hard I thought the house was about to file a noise complaint. I stared at myself in the mirror, wild-eyed, hair sticking to my forehead, jeans soaked in a way no human being should ever experience outside of toddlerhood. My brain was firing off about 5,000 useless ideas per second. Should I climb out the window? Pretend to faint? Claim the dog did it? They didn't even have a dog. I sat on the closed toilet lid trying to figure out if it was too late to fake my own death and move to Peru. Minutes passed. Probably. Maybe hours. Time was irrelevant. Eventually, there was a knock on the door. "Hey, babe, you good?" My boyfriend's voice, way too casual for the war zone that was happening inside me. "Yeah, just needed a moment," I squeaked back, sounding like someone who just saw God and he wasn't impressed. I stripped off my jacket, tried to use it to cover the crime scene on my jeans, realizing halfway through that it just made me look like someone who shoplifted a melon and tried to hide it under their shirt. My brain was melting. No way out but through. I yanked open the door, head high, dignity in shreds. My boyfriend looked at me, then down at my jeans, and his face went from concern to horror faster than you can say, pee pants. He opened his mouth to say something but all that came out was a tiny, confused noise, like a broken microwave beep. We stood there for half a second that felt like 5 lifetimes. I grabbed his hand like a hostage grabbing a soldier and hissed, "We have to leave. Now." He blinked. "But, dessert." "Now," I growled, dragging him down the hallway like a woman possessed. His parents were still in the living room, and when I stepped into view, it was like someone hit the mute button on life itself. Mom was dabbing the couch with a white towel, face frozen in polite horror. Dad was standing nearby holding a bottle of some cleaning spray like it was a loaded weapon. Nobody said anything. I made direct eye contact with the mom, nodded solemnly like we had just shared a traumatic experience, and then yanked the front door open. Outside, I practically sprinted to his car, climbed into the passenger seat, curled up into a mortified ball, and just kept repeating, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," while rocking back and forth like a broken animatronic. My boyfriend slid into the driver's seat, hands still hovering awkwardly like he didn't know what to do with them. He finally said, "It's okay. It's an accident. People have accidents." I glared at him. "I'm not a toddler, Josh. I didn't say that. You were thinking it. I wasn't. You so were." He tried to stifle a laugh and immediately failed, snorting so hard he almost set off the horn with his forehead. I buried my face in my hands. This is it. I'm gonna have to fake my death and start over. I'll move to a small village in Canada. Change my name. Grow potatoes. Never love again. Josh just reached over and squeezed my knee. "It's just pee, babe. They'll get over it." Somewhere deep inside me, a tiny part of my soul whispered, "No, they won't," but I stayed silent, staring out the window while we drove off into the night, leaving behind a very expensive, slightly soggy couch and the charred remains of my dignity. You ever had a moment so bad you wanted to reverse your entire existence like CTRLZ? Yeah, that was me, 15 minutes into meeting my boyfriend's parents. It started off suspiciously normal. He picked me up looking all smug like he just got promoted to CEO of Introducing Girlfriends Inc. I was nervous, but manageable nervous, like first day of school nervous. Cute, jittery. I even wore my "I'm a responsible adult" jeans, the ones without any rips on the knees. The drive to his parents' house was chill. I rehearsed my lines in my head. "Hi, nice to meet you." Smile, "Yes, I love your son very much." Lie convincingly, "No, I'm not addicted to TikTok." Laugh awkwardly. The house was one of those suburban fortresses with the perfect lawn, 2 SUVs parked outside, and a little flag that said, "Live, laugh, love," on the porch. Bad omen number 1. Inside smelled like fresh cookies and passive-aggressive judgment. His mom looked exactly like someone who would correct your grammar at Thanksgiving. His dad had that, retired but still pretends to be busy, vibe. First 5 minutes, I was killing it, shook their hands, complimented the wallpaper, even though it looked like it had seen Nixon resign, and dropped a cute story about how their son once tried to cook spaghetti and almost set off the fire alarm. Everyone laughed. I was winning. Then they offered me tea. Of course, I said yes, because what kind of monster says no to tea in a nice suburban home? I chugged that tea like it was holy water. Then they offered another cup. And another. And because my dumb polite ass couldn't say no, I ended up drinking 3 massive mugs of piping hot Earl Grey. My bladder started filing protest complaints after cup number 2, but I decided to hold it. I didn't want to be the weird girl who immediately asks where the bathroom is. Rookie mistake. We sat down in the living room, this fancy beige on beige crime scene of a room that screamed, "Do not touch anything." They had a massive cream-colored couch that looked more expensive than my entire wardrobe. His mom was telling a story about her yoga class, and I was doing that thing where you nod way too much because you're not actually listening. You're busy having a full-on internal war with your bladder. Sweat started pooling under my pits. My legs were crossed tighter than a pretzel. I kept fake laughing and shifting around like I was sitting on a cactus. Nobody noticed. At least, not yet. Somewhere between Downward Dog and Spiritual Awakening, the first leak happened. Tiny. Manageable. Just a little sprinkle. I froze. Smiled. Crossed my legs harder. Internally screamed. I needed an excuse. Fast. Maybe fake a coughing fit? Pretend I had to take a call? Leap out the window? Options were thinning. My boyfriend leaned over and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded, wide-eyed, looking like a hostage in a ransom video. He smiled, oblivious. I tried to shift my weight to apply pressure. Bad move. It was like popping the cork on a shaken champagne bottle. Full stream. No survivors. There was this horrifying, lukewarm sensation spreading under me. I dared to glance down. A dark stain was blossoming on the beige couch like a cursed flower of shame. Panic wasn't even the word. I wanted to vaporize. Spontaneous combustion seemed merciful compared to what was happening. The mom paused mid-story, her nose twitching like she smelled something suspicious. The dad furrowed his brows. My boyfriend tilted his head, confused, like a dog hearing a weird noise. I stood up so fast I almost knocked over the coffee table. They all stared, silent, judging, waiting for me to explain why their $3,000 restoration hardware couch now had a giant PSS puddle on it. My brain decided words were not the move. Instead, I just mumbled something like, "Be right back," and booked it towards the hallway praying I could find a bathroom or a time machine.